I'm just running through some letters and I've had a really interesting one. Basically a patient moving to the area and their hospital team from where they came from have just asked us to take over their chemotherapy. That's interesting. And that's me about to head home after another crazily busy day. So I think today I filmed myself opening the front door, sitting in a meeting, and now I'm going home. Good morning, here I am on the final day of my 5-day, 60-hour week. I don't know why that seems like such a long week to me. I've done far more. I've done 100-hour weeks in the past with no problem, but it's been pretty exhausting for just the 60 hours. I'm thinking it's probably a combination of all the emotional angst people have with their problems, as well as the fact that there's always multiple workflows to try and remember simultaneously. And I'm probably not very good at multitasking. A big part of the challenge in primary care at the moment is all the different workloads. So I've got a full day of clinic patients, but I've also got a full day worth of sort of messages, tasks. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do the other? On top of that, I've got a whole load of prescription requests. On top of that, there's a visit list. On top of that, there's all the different messages. On top of that, there's a constant influx of results. And on top of that, there's a constant pile of letters coming in from various specialists. Anyway, my first job of the day is to do a bit of nice paperwork. Not really nice. And that's the mammoth 60-hour working week done. And what a strange day today was. Why is that, you may ask? Because all the team are dropping with COVID, we put our lines on emergencies only. What that meant was, instead of actually coming in with emergencies, we got all the really complicated people in. So even though I had less people overall to see, every single one was very, very complicated. It was actually quite a productive day because it meant that I got to do some things and get some things actually really properly sorted for a few patients. But oh my word, it was exhausting. So now I'm feeling sort of tired and satisfied at the same time, and getting ready to go home. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to be in Brighton early on Monday morning as well because we've got a scan on Wednesday, which means that I'm having to swap some shifts around next week. So I think next week is looking to be another long week. But for tonight, that's me signing off. Night for now. Morning, it's another day and time for another start to another round of IVF. Today we're heading off to Bristol for a scan. While we're up there though, Tamsin has chosen a National Trust place for us to visit. As ever, I'm afraid I'm completely clueless about where we're actually going. It's an old house and that's what all the National Trust places are, and they're all kind of similar but a bit different. So I'll let you know when we get there. In the meantime, my first job of the day is to refuel with some toast and a big cup of coffee and a whole load of water because it's important to drink lots of water. Technically it's the third job because I've already showered and the bird feeders are already full. Through the magic of YouTube, here I am at the National Trust place already. We've driven all the way to Bristol. It was a bit of a carnage of a drive with a lot of traffic, a lot of chaotic traffic. We got there okay, we arrived a little bit late, we had our scan, Tamsin had some blood tests. Everything's looking okay actually for this cycle. And then we left and now we've driven to this National Trust place. I worked out why I wasn't told what it was called. Apparently it's called Tynetesfield. So, time for a little review of Tynetesfield in Bristol. As I mentioned, we got a free ticket to come in, but as you could see, there is a huge car park. There's actually 3 huge car parks, and parking is £5 per car. So that's clearly how they are making money back. That does make it still okay value for the two of us for a short day out, but that's a lot of £5. And here we go. Tynetesfield. Very picturesque on the way in. quick tour of the toilets. They smell a bit of wee, but they are nice and spacious. As we've arrived just around about lunchtime, we've gone straight to the canteen for a bit of lunch. It's a really nice looking canteen in here, as you just saw. There's an okay choice of foods. We'll see what the quality's like in a moment, but I've ordered a ploughman's lunch, which will be a treat. I've also got a brownie. Tamsin's got a tea cake. They had a bit of difficulty finding the food on the machine. Apparently they've updated their machines recently, which is interesting. Another thing I found out was that Ainsley Harriott had a cooking event here just at the end of last month and the start of this month. So keep an eye out for Ainsley's cooking thing, which is going on at Tynetesfield. When we ordered, we were given a device called a table tracker. I've never seen these before. It looks like one of those little buzzer things that you're given in bars, which then vibrate and do an alarm when your food's ready. It actually works the other way round. What you do is you pop the thing on your table, and then the kitchen knows exactly where you're sitting, which is maybe a little bit creepy but incredibly clever, and they just bring the food out to you wherever you're sitting in the restaurant. So quite impressed with that. Now let's have a look at my ploughman's, which has just arrived, and here it is. Not too bad value for £10, I think. First taste, it's actually quite nice. There's no butter to go with a huge chunk of bread though, which is a little bit surprising. So possibly a markdown for that. But at the same time, there's big chunks of cheese, which marks it back up again. I'm going to use a bit of mayonnaise as a butter substitute. Interestingly, the gift shop is right by the front entrance. I just wanted to show you these tiny cute little bottles though. Look at these dinky little liqueur bottles. They're all made locally. I think they're at the Lime Bay Distillery. Looks like they're made for the National Trust in particular. That's lunch finished. Was it the best meal I've ever had? No, but I would say that it was easily the best meal I've ever had at a National Trust place. So, thumbs up for that one. Tynetesfield Cafe is very good. We're on our way over to the main house. It's a little woodland walk out that way, which is quite pretty. It's actually fairly quiet here, which is quite nice. It's very tranquil and it's really quite pretty. It makes me think what it must have been like in the good old days to be super rich and to live in a giant mansion place like this. And that's it in the distance. Let's get a little bit closer. And here we have it, the Tynetesfield Manor. I'm actually quite impressed with it. Just behind there's a cute little shed kind of stage building. So apparently this is a Victorian aviary. Obviously there's no actual birds in here, so what has apparently happened is that they've got one of the local primary school classes to fill it up with various models, paintings, drawings, etc. So that's quite a cute idea. Let's just have a little look inside. Hopefully the reflections aren't too bad, but isn't that a cute effort? It looks quite good as well, especially for primary school work. So I'm trying to imagine what it must have been like to live somewhere like here. Just imagine being super rich and sitting out in the balcony just behind me, sipping cocktails, enjoying the sun and living life to the full. I'm far too easily entertained. So it seems that I was actually looking at the back of Tynetesfield Manor before. The front is even more impressive, as you can hopefully see behind me. I'll just zoom past it again in a moment. It probably looks an awful lot better in the sun as well. It's an absolutely baking day. I think possibly the second warm day we've had all year, despite it being July. Again, wow, imagine living somewhere like that. I think that would be brilliant. So there's currently renovations going on. Lots of things are down here in storage at the moment. And a quick peek around the butler's pantry. Even this is quite impressive. Saying that, look at the lead-lined sink. Now that's something you don't see very often anymore. And a bit of a Harry Potter feel going on in the stairway. That is quite impressive. Hopefully my medical friends will be impressed by the medical cabinet behind me. Let's just have a little look in there. So it's full of popular favourites like morphine, or sodium bicarbonate, or quinine, which still gets used today, despite it causing apparently a 1% increase in your chances of dying each year. That's not the same person dying repeatedly. And then never leave home without your sulfuric acid. And silver nitrate, which we also still use today, but usually just on the end of a little stick nowadays. A bit like a big long match, I'll have to show you one day. And of course, salicylic acid. I wonder how many people know what the modern name is for that. We do still use this today as well. I'm not sure what this bedroom is. On the one hand, there's a grand looking 4-poster bed, but on the other hand, this room is a little bit more basic looking than the rest of the building. I'm wondering whether it's maybe a guest quarter or something. I've got no idea, but it's simultaneously grand, but a little bit more basic. I do like it. Just out of interest, look at the old-fashioned light switch style, and in a really strange way, the peeling paint adds a bit of atmosphere. I'm just standing outside their private chapel and about to go on in, so let's go on through. Look at this amazing chapel, just for one family. I don't know what they did in life to need all this, but they must have been really naughty. That house was really impressive. I was overhearing one of the people who show everyone around, and they were saying that the National Trust bought it with their own money. What's that? I've just been corrected. Apparently, the National Trust bought it with someone else's money after they put an appeal out. They even have sheep! Hello, Mr. Sheep. Look at this. They even have a little black sheep. I think I might know a song about that one. Little black sheep, wandering far and wide, with your wool all scruffy now, and your funny little stride. I'm just going through the greenhouse now. I must say it makes me feel very jealous, especially when I look at our greenhouse with nothing that's grown this year because it's been so cold and wet. First of all, there's the dwarf French beans. Coming soon, I promise you. They really are dwarfs. And there you go. And a very small patch of sweet corn. I don't know if you've ever homegrown sweet corn, but it tastes so much better when you grow it yourself and it comes fresh from the plant. And some teeny weeny peaches growing. You can tell they're peaches because they are furry looking. I hope you can see that on the camera. And the tomatoes in here are doing an awful lot better than ours are. Just look at those. I feel like I should be in an episode of Gardener's World. And if anyone ever wondered where ladders come from, this is how they grow. More genuinely, look at all these grapes. A couple of years ago we made some grape jam using some excess grapes from someone at work, and it was the most amazing jam I've ever tasted. And then this bit of the greenhouse has lots of flowers. I have to be honest, I'm not particularly impressed by flowers. They always seem just a bit pointless to me compared to fruits and vegetables. Except for cacti. I like cacti for some reason. I don't know why, maybe because they're just a bit spiky like I am. Look at their really impressive pot storage area. And worth pointing out, the environmentally responsible peat-free compost. Well, that's disappointing. Tamsin's just off the telephone from the fertility clinic. After our first scan, they've advised that we need to abandon this cycle. It's for a good reason, but it's still really disappointing. We had everything planned up. So anyway, we'll just finish going around the house now and then head off home, and guess that means we can have an alcoholic drink tonight. And to commiserate, we've just stopped for ice lollies to cool down a bit as well. So I've got myself a Calippo and Tamsin has a Chilly Willy. Walking along here towards the manor house makes me feel a bit like I'm in a Jane Austen book. Perhaps I should be riding up here on a horse, though I think I'd probably far rather have a little electric scooter. We're just walking up to another garden, but before we do, I want to report something very exciting. It is a miracle. On that note though, I think it's time for home, so goodbye for today from Tynetesfield, and I will see you again soon.